Hey Team Victory, thank you for watching this video. We've been talking about how you can make a difference on Team Victory, how you are not just a consumer, you're a contributor. You can wake up every day and say, I have a purpose. I'm living today on purpose for a purpose. And as part of Team Victory, sometimes I can just talk about the inspiration side of that, and I want to make sure we get extremely practical. So I've talked to you about Sundays and how we can do that together on Sundays with our main deal, our services. I've talked to you about how we can do that all week long with our ministries, our small groups, and with just our daily lives. And now I want to talk to you about finances, about our church's money. And honestly, as a pastor, I find this sometimes a very difficult topic because people can start to question and it can be awkward, and sometimes there's nervousness around this, or people can get upset about it. And I just want you to know it's one of my responsibilities as a pastor to do this, and although I find it hard sometimes, I choose to do it because I love you and because I love our church, and I want to see you and our church flourish and be blessed. And so this is a big deal. And so on a very practical level, when it comes to finances, our church needs finances to be able to flourish and move forward in the vision we have. We have staff, we have facilities, we have programs and ministries, we have missions, we have a whole bunch of things we do as a church that take finances to do. And our current church budget is about just under $1 million a year. That's significant finances. And we would love that to be bigger. We'd love that to be 1.5 times or even double that. It makes a huge, huge difference for a church. I've been pastoring now 26 years, and I've been pastoring in seasons where our church was struggling financially, and I've been pastoring in seasons where our church was flourishing financially. And I can tell you this, when the church struggles financially, it kind of handcuffs us as a church. It makes it so that we can't step out and do outreaches and add staffing and add facility changes that need to be made and add programs and ministries that would benefit us and help us further our mission. It makes it like, oh, we got to be careful, right? And at times when we're flourishing, I've seen just the opposite. I've seen like we can dream big and we can see God do amazing things and we can step out, and I've seen that be blessed. So this is my deal. I want to be a part of a flourishing church. I want to be a part of a church that's blasting down the gates of hell and moving forward and all of that. And that takes committed people financially. It just does. And it takes significant commitment financially, right? We're talking like if you come to church and just go, yeah, well, I give my $20, I give my $50. That's sort of like giving a tip, It's like, well, I like the service today. Here's my $50. And that's great, but that is not what's going to really cause our church to flourish into the future. It takes a faithfulness, a consistency, and what we do as a church is we do something called tithing. It comes right out of Scripture. We take 10% of what God brings into us and we give it back to our local church, to God through our local church, to be able to further the purposes of God there. And I'll just tell you this, it works. It's beautiful. And what's neat about tithing is it's not equal amounts, right? Because all of us have different amounts coming in, but it is equal sacrifice. Some of us make very little, but we take 10% off the top of that and we give it to God. And that's not a large amount of money, but it's our part. And some of us make lots and we take 10% off of that. And that's a lot of money, but it's our part. And so it's all of us sacrificing together. So that's the practical side of it. But let me take you to the team side of it, because I'm saying all of us sacrificing together. So let me challenge you on this. As a team of people, we really are, and this isn't just pretend, we really are sacrificing together. We really are laying down our lives together for the mission that God has for us. And this is no sort of joke. So if you come along to our church and say, well, I want to be a part of Team Victory, but the finance piece isn't really, I'm not really into that. Listen, you're robbing the rest of us as a team. You're keeping us back. You're holding back from us really pushing forward into all the things God has for us. So I would just challenge you on that. Don't hold back. In fact, I used to go kind of soft on this and be like, well, it's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. And I remember one time I had a friend of mine who is part of our church who just came to me and said, don't hold back on calling all of our church to tithe, every single one. And he said it to me this way. He said, look, I'm sacrificing. This is hard for me. Like, this makes a difference to my monthly budget and paying my rent and paying for my car and figuring out my life. And I'm doing it because I'm committed and I'm excited and I want to see people come to Christ and all of that. And if you as a pastor don't hold the rest of our church to that, I feel like I'm kind of standing alone in that. Like, come on. And so anyway, that is my encouragement to you. And I should tell you this, I do personally tithe as a person as part of this church, and I give over and above that. And my wife and I, our commitment every year is to try to give a higher percentage of our income every year. And our staff tithe, all of our staff tithe. We actually make that a requirement of being on staff here, is we all tithe. And so, and our church actually tithe. Did you know that? From the income that our church gets, we tithe back to Victory Churches International, to missions, and we give over and above what comes into our church to things that happen outside of our church, because we so believe in that principle. So practically, team-wise, now let me give you one other thing, and that's discipleship-wise. You are a disciple of Jesus, and a big part of your discipleship is your finances. How you steward and how you give generously is a major part of your own discipleship. And again, church, as a pastor, this is part of my responsibility and our responsibility to disciple one another, is to challenge each other to be real disciples of Jesus. And again, just being challenging and honest with you here. If you allow Jesus at other areas of your life, but don't obey Jesus in this area, in the generous area, in the tithing area, then I would just say to you, you need to step up and be a real follower of Jesus. He gave his life for you, and he demands you and I give our all for him. This is part of what it means to be a disciple, and growing as a disciple includes growing in our financial generosity. And honestly, Jesus talked about money a ton. He talked about finances in fact, more than heaven and hell combined, Jesus talked about money. Some people say he talked about money more than any other topic, and I wouldn't question that. It was a big deal to him. Why? Because he wants your heart. He wants your whole life, and he knows how closely tied our finances are to our hearts. And so anyway, where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Be a generous giver, be a tither. So we do that practically because it's what it takes for our church to be a flourishing church, and we want a flourishing church. We do it because we're part of a team, and we don't want to rob each other. We want to really flourish as a team. We do it because it's part of our discipleship. Let me give you another reason why finances are a big deal, and that is because it's a big part of your faith journey financially. Do you know the Bible is filled with promises about financial generosity? Filled with them. That the world of the generous gets larger and larger. That there are those who withhold more than is right, and it tends towards poverty. But there are those who are generous, and it tends towards blessing and prosperity. That when you give to the Lord of the first fruits of all your increase, that God will fill your barns with plenty, and they will be filled to overflowing. That when you give, God will give back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. 2 Corinthians 8 and 9, that when you give generously, you will also reap generously. But when you give sparingly, you will also reap sparingly. And I could take you to promise after promise after promise in Scripture like that. And a lot of times we're afraid to go there because we think people might sort of turn that into a selfish prosperity message. You know, it's all about me, it's all about getting money. Listen, it's all about generosity, and it's all about, in faith, giving, knowing that you can't outgive God, knowing that God will pour back into your life, and you will be able to continue to increasingly be a blessing. But I will tell you this, and I tell you this on the basis of the promises of God's Word. If you want God's blessing on your finances, two things: be a good steward and be generous. Be a good steward and be generous. And I want you to be blessed financially. I want you to flourish financially. Be a good steward and be generous. That doesn't mean every season of your life you're going to have, all the things you want financially. What it means is you're inviting God into it. Every time I'm struggling financially, I increase my giving. And I just do that every time. If I'm struggling financially, I look to my giving because I want to invite God in. And I know these promises. And I just go, okay, God, I want to see you move in a supernatural way over my finances. Now, I also make sure I'm stewarding properly. You can't go be foolish with your finances and then sort of say, and so on. But this is a part of what it means to be faithful and good stewards financially is just by doing that. So I encourage you with that. Step out in faith, see God work, see God move. Christians all through church history have testified to the faithfulness of God. When they have obeyed God with their finances, they have seen God move in powerful ways. So for your own blessing's sake and your own capacity to increasingly be a blessing, be a sacrificial, faithful giver, and you will see God get involved. And I would especially urge those of you who are struggling financially to take God at His word in this area, because again, you will see the blessing, you will see the answers to your prayers and so on, and be a very cool thing. So I've talked about just the practical realities of finances. I've talked about us being a team together and how much that matters, that you're doing your part as a team member. Equal sacrifice, not equal amount, but equal sacrifice. I've talked about your discipleship, how much this matters to your own heart and your own true, real, genuine following of Jesus. I've talked about doing it because there's faith involved, and you'll see God's blessing as you do it. Let me also mention that some of you have a special gift of giving. The Bible talks about people with a gift of giving, and some of you have been blessed financially, and you've been blessed with great jobs where you're able to really give larger amounts. And I would just say to you, you matter in the church in this area. Just like those of you who've been gifted with teaching, those of you who've been gifted with leadership, those of you who've been gifted with mercy, those of you who've been gifted with helps, you matter to the church in those areas. We all do all those things, but some of you have a special gift in that area. And I just want to affirm you, if you have a gift of giving, you are probably behind the scenes, other people don't know it, right? And you're probably thinking, well, you know, I can't serve in kids ministry like pastor's always asking, or I can't serve in the worship team or in the tech team the way other people do, or maybe your time is limited because of your job, and some jobs have a real time limitation to them. But you're faithfully giving over and above large amounts. And I just want to say to you, thank you for that. Thank you for participating that way. That is part of God's plan for how His church will be blessed and prosper, is that those with the gift of giving will in particular step up and use that gift. And so I just want to acknowledge you. You're behind the scenes using your gift, but it does matter. Now, that being said, that doesn't let the rest of us off the hook, the rest of you off the hook. Whatever level of giving we have, we are all faithful together giving. And that's part of what it means to just be the church together, to team up together to accomplish the mission and vision that God has for us. We taught our kids right from the day they were born to tithe. In fact, I would often take the family tithe out and show the kids that we were tithing together as a family, and every single time they got income, whether it was a birthday or Christmas or a little bit of work they did, whatever, we would walk with them through taking 10% off to God first, and then 10% off for savings, and then the rest, they chat with them about what they wanted to do with. And so we taught our kids that right from the get-go. But as our kids got older, it was actually one of my biggest concerns that as they left the home, they would continue to be committed to be faithful to God in this area. And I'll just be honest with you about why. Because Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And I knew if my kids continued to give God the first and best financially in their life, the rest of their life would follow. God would continue to get the first and best of the rest of their life. And so as soon as they started being a part of another church, they were clear to let me know that they were tithing right away. And in fact, with both my boys, as they went off, they were college students, university students, and they went off and they started going to a church, and so right away they'd start tithing. And at the time, they didn't make a lot of money because they're college students, but they hadn't used money a lot, you know, for a lot of things at that young age. And so both of them got tripped up when their banks wouldn't allow them to give that big of amount of money. It was the largest purchase that they had ever made in their lives, was their first tithe to their local church when they were college students. And both of them, I had to show them how to, you know, make sure their debit limit got higher or whatever so that they could give more. And I just, as a dad, I'll tell you, I was like, yes, walking with my kids through the giving journey. And both my kids, both my boys at that time, just said to me, Dad, this is one of the coolest things we get to do. It brings us so much joy. And that's what you'll find. You'll find that as you're faithful to God financially, it brings joy into your life. And there's something about generosity that you realize, man, it's more blessed to give than to receive. So as part of Team Victory, that is a big part of it, and I want to challenge you and encourage you in that, and I want to be as bold as I can as a pastor in this area. I'll be honest with you, since COVID, it's been harder for our church financially, and it's been harder for me to keep up with keep our church updated financially. It's like I have to remind a little more regularly, and that's been hard on me a little bit, but we just keep pushing forward, and we'll keep on seeing God be faithful and you be faithful, and I'm so thankful for your faithfulness, church, in the whole area of finances. So thank you, God bless you, and thanks for being a part of Team Victory. I'm excited to team up together with you over the next months and then years to see more and more people led to know, love, and serve Jesus. Thanks. God bless.